Well, hello, 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 and welcome. You guys know what? Kim and I were just chatting over the phone, and we were saying, "Gosh, there's so much stuff that's going on right now. We just need to talk about it." So Kim and I are here. She's fixing a couple of things, and she'll be right back. But we would like to make sure that you all are able to share with us the things that you have been thinking about. Hello, Melinda Ann. I want to know what you guys are thinking. How are you feeling? How are you dealing with everything that's going on right now? What's going on? I don't think we ask that question often enough, right? I think we sort of just go on about our day doing our thing. But that's one thing we really want to know is how are you guys doing tonight? How is everybody? What's on your mind? We're going to have just a girl chat, she and I, and we want you all to just jump on in. And that includes guys. We don't want it to just be, girls only. We want to know what everybody's thinking. Because if you're like us, and I'll speak for myself. If you're like me, you've been feeling a little thickness in the air. And I don't think we really know exactly what's up, but we do know something's going on, right? Um, and so, yeah, she's fixing a couple of things on her side. And as soon as she's done, I think you guys will notice there'll be a big difference. Hey, Vern's Junk Closet. Good evening to you. How have you been? Vern's Junk Closet. You guys make sure you check out her channel. It is the most awesome and eclectic channel that I have had the opportunity to visit. I love her channel. I love the content. It's like I said, it's very eclectic, but you will find that she does lots of different things. Everything from help boost your channel if you are looking to boost the numbers, looking to boost your hours. She's just that cheerleader, right? And so I so appreciate you for coming in this evening and checking us out. So right now we've got a lot of stuff going on, and the creepy piece is that we all seem to feel as if we think we know what's going to happen. And I think that's when we set ourselves up, right? We set ourselves up to believe that we know what's going to happen, and or we hope we know what's going to happen, and we honestly don't. If you've kept your ear to the ground over the past recent weeks, you will see that everything has gone up and down, up and down. And like we said over the weekend, it seems as if every time our attention is to the left, something else comes over here to the right that we're clearly not expecting. I took a good look today at the upcoming cabinet of the presumptive winner of this year's election. And I don't think a lot of people are happy. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of people are not happy, especially those folks who have you know done their thing and they've all got out and they voted and they thought that this particular group of individuals was going to really reach out to those who helped them get elected. And they're finding out that it's really not happening. And that's the sad piece. And that's the part that I think I was a little angry at the top of everything is the fact that you use any group of individuals to make your way. And then after you do that, you sort of drop them. So, yeah, I don't think I like that. Melinda says, I am upset. Today I had a situation with the mask situation, and I haven't been able to let it go. Oh, I just want to hit a wall. No, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is just take a deep breath, write out how you feel, put it on a piece of paper, and then once you do that, just sort of breathe and woosah. That's all you got to do is just breathe and woosah. Because you'll find that oftentimes when you uh, react in a certain way, that makes everybody else happier. But girl, you do know, Melinda, you cannot drop knowledge and information like that without telling us what happened. So type away, soul sister, and tell us what happened. Um, I know for myself, the whole that whole mask piece sort of ticks me off because I make sure that I let everybody know, I'm not wearing one when I come in here. I can't breathe. And it's not that I'm trying to be difficult. I just need my oxygen. And let me take my chances is how I feel. Let me sign a disclaimer. Let me sign a waiver that I'm not going to sue you, but I can't breathe with my mouth or my face covered up. I just can't. So, what happened? I know, right? Vern says, "Oh no, Melinda." That's what I'm trying to figure out. What happened? Um, Kim, welcome. I'm glad to see you here tonight, sister. How are you?
I'm good. I figured it out. I am good, but I needed to talk. And so I'm glad we moved our conversation from the phone to your channel.
I am too. Go ahead, girl. Pour it out. Melinda's putting her words together. She had a situation today with a mask, and she was like, yeah, let go and let God help. I just want to hit a wall. Really? I'm gonna translate that to mean I just want to smack somebody. But I understand. Melinda Melinda is a young lady. She's a lady, and I appreciate that. But anyway, we're gonna wait for her to type that in. But how are you doing, Kim? What's going on?
Oh man, I am good. I'm up and down to tell the truth. Like I sometimes, and I'm talking about within the course of one day. You know, I'm at peace with everything, and then I'm frantic about everything. And then I am kind of calm about everything, and then I have anxiety about. I mean, there's a lot going on, and not everybody is really wanting to even really talk about it, like about the real deal. I mean, people will kind of talk on the surface, but nobody wants to talk about the real deal. So I have found that I am really isolated, because a lot of people can feel something's wrong and they don't know what's wrong, or there's just a lot going on, girl. So I'm up and down. And I will say this, as informed as I believe that I am, as educated as I believe that I am, as prepared as I thought that I was, none of that is helping me right now to deal with what's really going on. None of it. None of it. And as spiritual, um, as I thought that I was, like none of it is really helping, um, to be prepared for something that I think that we have never experienced in our lifetime, and things that are of and I say biblical. I'm not trying to start a conversation about religion, but I'm just saying that what's happening now, I think that your average guy, whether they're religious or not, can testify that they believe that this is some epic stuff going on right now. And so yeah, so I am okay. I am very fortunate to be surrounded in my home, with people that are like-minded. Kevin is, and my son, I won't say he's like-minded, he's 15, but he gets his mama. And I have, friends like you and Demita and some other like-minded friends that I can chat with. And I have, neighbors that I can chat with, but for the most part, it's an isolating thing. And I think that we're probably, a lot of us are feeling very isolated, and in a sense of really unknowing about what we can expect going forward.
Exactly. Well, first of all, I want to address Melinda's comment. She said that she went to the Salvation Army to pick up her food commodities and was denied because she would not wear a mask. Politely, she explained why she wasn't, and she was told that she couldn't pick up her food commodities. And that is a darn shame. I think
It
that the
is.
Salvation Army should really be ashamed of themselves, because there are plenty of people who cannot wear masks for health reasons, and some states there are some states that have some leniency as it relates to people having health challenges, reasons why they can't wear them. And so for them to take uh, the stance of not allowing you to get your food, something that is a necessity, when everybody else in there obviously was wearing a mask. And really, if everybody's wearing one and Melinda isn't, how harmful is the environment, really? Think about that.
Well, honey, let me tell you
She
something.
said that the woman gave her a superior smile, laid all the facts out for her, and then she grinned. And that is so, I don't
It's
know.
evil. That's evil.
It's
That is
very
evil.
evil.
The grinning part, the I gotcha thing part, the shaming of people that either can't wear masks or don't choose or want to wear masks, the shaming, that's where that grin comes from, and that's pure evil. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Belinda. And but you're going to have to lead this conversation because I can go way left on the whole mask issue. But let me just say this: any organization that gets federal funding is all in on the masks, is all in on the mandates, and they are going to require you to be in line with the mandates, or you're not going to get what the government is giving you. And I don't care if it's food commodities. I don't care if it's welfare. I don't care if it is a free lunch program. It doesn't matter. They are going to require you if they are receiving federal monies, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate and it's shameful.
Yeah, it's very shameful. And, I think that Nancy Morgan Hart put up a story today surrounding the whole entire shutdown of several grocery stores in the New Mexico area. And that state, in and of itself, is already at a food deficit. Now, couple that with the fact that the governor has decided that she will become the food czar and shut down several grocery stores. And if you've ever been in New Mexico or even Arizona,
Hmm.
Nevada, you know how far those cities are apart, right? So she
Yeah.
has taken it upon herself to cancel out getting any food because of a quote unquote scare with a current situation. So there's, I know, a Walmart, I think they said a Stater Brothers, a few other places. And you can help remind me of all the places, Kim, but there are several places in that state, for example, that have just shut down for the next 2 weeks. And how sinister is that when you consider the fact that a lot of people have family over for Thanksgiving, or at least want to go stock up on some of the things that they use because they generally will have plenty for them, whether it be the green beans, whether it be the whatever it is they like, they can generally get it in higher amounts during the time of Thanksgiving. So she just shut it all down. And so I think that
Wow.
therein lies the problem. And I really honestly don't think that people who are all for this or all in it, they don't see and won't see how detrimental getting on board with this sinister slavery. I don't think they see how it is going to affect them. They think that, well, we're just going to protect everybody and we're going to go around with it like this. And I have seen some people who are all for it. And it's unfortunate that you had to go through that. And I'm going to pray that the Most High sends. There's a scripture in Malachi that says, press down, shaken together, shall men give into your bosom. So I'm going to pray that the Most High moves people to bring to your assistance and to give to you, because He will definitely do it. He's done it in my life, and I know that He'll do it in yours. And I'm sorry you went through that. She says, New Mexico, yep. They closed down 3 of our 5 Roswell, New Mexico. That's where I am. Do you see? So, do you see
Wow.
how sinister and evil and wicked this is? And that's the reason why we have to make sure that even in those times And it's hard. I'm going to tell you something, honey. I have been there and I have done that, and it wasn't even a pandemic. Okay. But let me tell you how good the God we serve is. There have been times where when I was a single mom after my divorce several years ago, with, three kids at home with me, one stayed, in California with my former husband, but I had three with me. And so I had the brunt of everything. There have been times when he has stepped in, and it was clearly and honestly a miracle. And that's all I can say. So we're going to believe and we're going to touch and agree right now that everything's going to work out just fine for you. You see what I'm saying? So shame on them. But just like Kim said, when it comes down to taking in those extra monies, that's just how they are. They're not going to lose their funding because, they wanted to have some compassion. And shame on that one woman, because you see, it's those types of situations that when we're at work, we can show compassion. We can show compassion. If it were me, I probably would have said, "Girl, come on in here. We got a back room. Come through here and get what you need and go on out the back door." Why? Because my opinion is it's more important for me to feed you than for me to keep some rule that man made. So I'm sorry you went through that. Kim, what do you have to say?
It's about power and control. It is not about serving the people. And let me say this: when I said that that woman wanted to shame her, there are a lot of people that are taking a lot of pleasure right now in the isms and and putting people in little boxes. And they are on the front lines. I call them the gatekeepers. And they're taking a lot of pleasure right now, because they're misinformed and they're evil. They're indoctrinated and they're evil. Because if that woman was really on the front lines to serve the people, then she would have said, you know what, I'll meet you outside. And she didn't say that. There are so many people that are sitting
Mm-hmm.
high and looking low and processing
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on through their ego. It's a sickness. It is a sickness. It is an ill thing that is going and flowing through our communities, and it, and it's unfortunate. And I will say this, there's no, and when I said shame, I didn't mean that Belinda doesn't have pride, because that is very likely farthest from the truth. What I'm saying is that there is nothing wrong with having a safety net to help the people that need what they need in this moment. It doesn't mean that they're dependent. It doesn't mean that it's a lifestyle. But what it does mean is that you have people on the front lines that are charged with servicing and helping the people among us that need their leg up, that need what they need in this difficult time, because it's very difficult. And to think that we have such evil people out there deciding whether or not somebody like Belinda or anyone else gets what they need today, and takes pleasure because she can't or won't or is unable to conform to mandates, which are not laws. To think that we have evil people that way on the front lines, it's horrible. It's horrible. And it started making me think about what's going on in Europe and in Canada right now. And I don't know if you've seen footage from what's going on in Germany, but these people in Germany, in Berlin today, they've had water tanks turned on them in the last couple of days. They
Oh
are
wow.
protesting and saying that they are not for these lockdowns, and they are going off. And you won't see that on the mainstream news. So you're going to have to go on YouTube or Periscope or wherever it is that you go to see real footage, and it'll blow your mind. And we all sit back here in the U.S., in the land of milk and honey, and think that none of this is happening to us, or will happen to us, and it's happening to us. Before, these people in Berlin were out there in front of water cannons taking that water, and you don't think that the same thing happened to them when they tried to go get food? You don't think the same thing happened to
Just
them?
taking it.
when they try, they are taking it, and they're taking it, and they're like, give me more, bring it on. But
Wow.
we
Well,
don't have.
Melinda said that Melinda says that she says we were outside and I was in my car. It was supposed to be
Mm,
food curbside service. So you know what? Unfortunately, honey, you were that lady's lesson. See, God's going to send you a blessing. You were that
right.
lady's lesson. Because in a minute, honey, let me tell you something. Divine reciprocity would dictate that what goes around comes around, and her come around is coming really quickly. And I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately, that's just the way that life goes. God is going to bless you, but you were her lesson. Okay, it could be something as small as she didn't clock in on time and she loses her job, and there goes I, right?
Well,
But
let me
I'm
tell you
amazed to
something.
hear
Let
what
me
you're
tell.
saying is going on in Germany.
Oh yeah, that is something that you need to check out, Felicia. And I'm certain that when you check it out, it's something that you are going to want to share with your viewers. It is just incredible what's going on in Europe right now. In Canada, same thing, except the Canadians are laying down. Okay, they're not yet protesting, and I don't even know culturally if they're going to be protesting or not. But the Germans
Well,
have
I
had
don't think
enough.
so. My sister lives out there. My sister's
Yeah,
in the
I
UK
don't
right
believe
now.
I don't believe they
I
are.
don't think so
But
either.
in Canada, they have they are setting up basically centers to send people who test positive for like little isolation camps, basically private
Wow.
prisons. And I was watching their local government was having a hearing on it, and uh, they were just saying, "Hey, it's just what it is. It's just that we have funded these things." And so you had the more progressive members of their parliament saying, "Yeah, we have given money and towards building and they're being built. Some of them are done being built, and the next step will be to move people into them." Um, and so you had the more conservative members of parliament saying, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like, we want details on this. And they were shunned. They were shunned and shamed, just like your friend, your viewer, who just tried to go and pull up and get some food. Same, shut down. And that's what they do to people that have a voice. That's what they do to people who don't necessarily agree with them. But anyway, it's happening in Canada. And the restrictions and the mandates that they have there far exceed ours, but ours are catching up.
Wow.
I had a friend today send me a text because we had just spoken, and I told him that I was going to have to be traveling on business the first weekend of December. And so he went to get on a plane this morning and was told that overnight, last night, that the LA County Mayor, Garcetti, which is where I live, passed a mandate that for anybody who travels, they have to actually sign paperwork that says that they have to be able to quarantine for 15 days upon returning back to Los Angeles, and that what when they were given the document also stated that you agree to have contact tracers come to your home if somebody on your flight tested positive for COVID and all this crazy stuff. And he said him and a whole bunch of people got up off the plane and walked out and said, I won't be signing anything. And I will not be.
Wow.
I mean, it is getting bananas. And
Well,
we, what are we doing? What are we paying attention to? Because we are not paying attention to the fact that our civil liberties, our civil rights are being taken away from us under the guise of keeping other people safe, and we're just kind of going along with the okey doke. There's a lot of people who are vocal about not liking it, but what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing about
exactly.
it? We're doing nothing. We've got businesses closing down. I have a restaurant that I go to regularly while I sit and wait for my son's basketball team to finish practicing, and it's a really lovely place, and it's an older man with cancer, and his family started this family business, and they have been struggling through COVID, and they spent a lot of money to prepare their restaurant to be able to only seat people outside. And now that's being
Mm.
shut down. Tomorrow at midnight, there will be no more outdoor dining. And I feel I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive over there and I want to check on him. I want to check on him and his wife and
Well,
his family and make sure they're okay. I mean, this is getting bananas. And what are we
I'm
doing
going to
about it?
take I'm going to take a quick second here, Kim, and reintroduce you because Old Head Deuce asked that we reintroduce you. This is Kim. Everybody knows Kim Roberts. She is a guest of the show. She's like a permanent fixture here. Whenever we have our four-woman panel, she's usually one of the people who are with us. And she's just a dynamic conservative woman who is a self admitted how would you say it? You are a conservative, but you are also you're not a Democrat, you're not a
I'm a
Republican, you
I'm a
are
libertarian.
a
I'm a
libertarian.
libertarian, but
Libertarian.
I do support President Trump. So people think, oh, I'm a Republican or I'm a Trump, whatever the ism is. But I'm a
Well,
libertarian.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what? Frankly, I think that most libertarians right now are leaning towards Trump because they know what the opposite would be. But Maynard has made a statement here in the comments, and she says, "Hi everyone, I was bad today. I hugged an old friend in aisle 7 at the store today without a mask. Defiant little bugger I am." I'd like to say hello to Lee Hill. Hello, Lee, and hello to Paralysis by Analysis. And I'd also, of course, like to thank my mod for being here this evening, Old Head Deuce, who keeps our comment section very clear and clean. He is no joke. So if you guys notice any people coming in that don't need to be here, you can trust and believe he's already got that on lock. Trust me. Um, yeah, he is no joke. I mean, he'll boot somebody out of here in a heartbeat. I know it. So I just want to thank you. Now, Melinda Ann says that it sounds like Nazi Germany in 1939, just another version of a concentration camp. That was in response to what you were saying about Canada, and I totally 100% agree. Excuse me, and I'm going to just say this. Um, I don't think that we in America really realize the direction that we're headed in, and I want to say that if we just remove the partisan barriers and just look at it for what it is, this is not good. It's not good at all. The
Well,
things that we are dealing with, the things that we, stand to lose, is just it's just beyond words. And I think that a
it
lot of
is.
these governors, I think that a lot of these governors are really truly and honestly just going a little bananas right now. I think that a lot of the governors are truly and honestly showing their you know I think they're showing their tails, to say, for lack of a better word, for lack of a better term. And I don't know where it will end. um
Well, may I
I
say something
go
about
ahead.
that, Felicia,
Yes, yes,
please?
yes,
I
yes,
hate
yes,
to
please
interrupt
do.
you, but let me say this: that as a student of history, the understanding and I'm always asking the why. I mean, I used to study about the Holocaust, and I used to wonder as a child studying about the Holocaust, like, I didn't understand, how is it that Christians and even atheists, people who were not Jewish, how is it that they got to the point where they sat back and watched their neighbors be loaded onto boxcars to go to their death in incinerators and say nothing? How is that? How did they get to that point? And it took decades of conditioning. It took decades of propaganda through the media, propaganda through education. It took decades to for those people to get to that point where they would look the other way because they had so much fear. And so Melinda's uh, comment about how it sounds like Nazi Germany, it's the same psyop. It is the same because it worked then, and it is exactly what we're seeing now. And then to your comment, Felicia, there are many of us who realize it. Many of us who get it, but our points of view are being silenced. They're being silenced in the media. We're being censored on social media. The news that's reporting people who are fighting against it in our country is being silenced. The people aren't getting it. If you're, and I keep saying this, but if you're watching anything that you can tune on television, you're not getting it. If you're
You're
on
not
Facebook,
getting it.
you're not
You're
going
not
to see
getting
it,
it.
or you're not going to hear those points of view. But I heard a statistic today from a nonpartisan statistician that said that
Lee.
70% of the American people are against all of these mandates that are happening.
Well,
But
I don't think they're paying attention, are they?
where are those 70% of the people? You're not hearing from them unless you're listening to podcasts like this, or unless you're listening to independent or underground news, or unless you're on social media outlets that are not Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I want to invite Lee Hill to please pick that link up because I know that he had Pastor Larry on his show last Friday, and I really wanted to hear what he feels right now. He's a very strong, very, very powerful man of God. And if he's still in the stream, I would love for him to pick that link up and join us and add into the conversation because he too is in California. And I do agree that there's a lot of egregious things that are going on. They're basic crimes against people, humanity. And
Mm-hmm.
to Kim's point, there are a lot of people who have opinions about it, but we don't necessarily see those individuals standing up and, defending the truth. And I don't know if it's because of fear. I don't know if it's because, people feel like, well, I've got too much to lose or what it is. But hey, the governor of California just went out and had a good time. He had a good old time. Took his kids to school without a mask. He sat there and had food and ate with a whole bunch of people that did not belong in his household, far more than the 10 people that they're supposed to. And then he mandated that everybody else do the opposite. He did the same thing the top of the year when this whole thing began with the vineyards. Had his vineyard restaurant all open, and so it's just the hypocrisy of it all. But because of the hypocrisy, it overshadows what they're saying that they're doing this for. They're saying they care about people's health and well-being. And I always ask, when have you ever cared about us? You've never cared. These people are really out for themselves, and that's the sad part. But Lee is in California, and he does have a channel here on YouTube, and I hope that he gets the opportunity to pick up that link. Now, Old Head Deuce said no one had guns. You know what? I was just reading a story about Virginia, and they were actually having a show, weapons show there, and it was like 133. The edifice could hold like 133,000 people, and they wanted to limit this gigantic edifice to this big gigantic arena to like 250 people, and it was for people to go in and to get arms and purchase things that they legally have, constitutional right to get. And they said no, we're going to limit it. We don't want it to spread rampant. And these are lies. They do not care. This is about control. This is the first time that I think in America we can honestly see what slaves actually felt like. If we look back in time, if we just take a quick glance back in time, our great grandmothers and great grandfathers were dealing with this type of mindset, the control and the pressing their will upon people. All of these things were done way, way, way back then. Unfortunately, right now, it's everybody. I did a video a few months back that was dealing with the antebellum times, and it were when they had the masks on the slaves, the specific,
Yes.
with all, they use these masks specifically for control, specifically to control the people, prevent them from speaking, prevent them from eating, prevent them from allegedly biting, prevent them from doing everything. And they did it to the strongest of men, and they did it to the strongest of women, and they did it to the people who would otherwise, in their mind, fight back. This is exactly what's going on right now. And so, every single state, I want to say this, every single state has a way out. Every state, for the most part, has something written where even if they say you have to wear a mask, there are stipulations that can remove you from that. Find out what it is. Find out what it says. Take that thing and rock it. Okay. I mean that because there are some stipulations. They are very fine line. And remember, it's always to protect them. So they're going to make sure that nobody's going to be able to come back and sue them. However, I will say this, that at the top of the year, right after this thing became public where everybody was going to be all locked down, a lot of the states gathered together and they agreed with the federal government that had a clause where people would be held harmless and they could not be sued. And so some of the states, including Alabama and including Georgia, a few other southern states, created laws that mimicked the federal law that precluded them from being sued and held harmless. So still find out what's going on. Now, Melinda Ann says, where are these people? I have looked for them on the internet and no one and nothing is listed, especially in New Mexico. Rachel, how are you, sister? She says the color of law is what these mandates are. Exactly. Rusty Smith says pure evil, their own power trips. They're on power trips. Yes. Another comment from Rachel. Those people he was with were health officials. And isn't that amazing? I would imagine that you are reflecting back to the comment we made about the governor for the state of California when you said that. Um, let's see. She says, yes, I know what it is. Title 18 USC Section 242, the color of law. I love this woman. Rachel, I love you. You are so spot on with so many things. I am so glad you are a part of our live tonight, and I just cannot appreciate you enough. I appreciate everything you have to offer. So, Kim, where do you see this stuff ending? I mean, everything has an ending. Where do you see this stuff ending?
I wish I okay. Well, I wish I had a crystal ball where I could tell you where I knew it was ending. I can tell you where I think it's ending. And I know that you don't want this to be a political conversation, but
I don't mind. Do your
but
thing.
but 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 let me tell you something. The war that is being fought right now, that appears that it is a war that's red versus blue, that's Democrat versus Republican. It is a war of good versus evil, and I think we totally agree on that, regardless of what political party we affiliate with or who we voted for. But I will tell you this, that where I see it ending, and I'm on the edge of my seat right now to see myself, I can promise you this, and for any of your listeners that voted for Biden, I don't want to be offensive and I don't want to say you did the wrong thing, because as a libertarian, I believe that you have the right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. But I will tell you that if what we are seeing with this contest of the election, and it's full court press and it is going down to the wire, I don't care what the media, the mainstream media, tells you. It is on like hot buttered popcorn, and it is gearing up quickly every single day. If Biden wins, we are screwed. And I'm not saying that because I don't like Biden, but I'm listening to what Biden said during the election when he was
Well, look at
campaigning.
his cabinet, Kim. Look at his
I'm looking,
cabinet.
and that was where I was going. I'm looking at who he is putting or proposing to put in his cabinet. He is a one world order type of dude, and he is all about federal mandates, which are against the Constitution, to lock this country down, to reset this country as and be a part of resetting the global community. I mean, that's just where he's at. So I don't see it getting better if Biden becomes president. However, I believe that Trump is fighting this war. Um, he is not blinking. He has balls of steel. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't change who he is and
It
what he's
doesn't
doing.
change, right?
I believe that if Trump is inaugurated on election day, then, you know, put it this way, he is the thin string that is almost single-handedly, with a handful of uh, fighters that are on his team, like really on his team, not fake ones, that is keeping us from full-blown tyranny like Canada, like Germany, like France, like Italy. And so I believe that the only hope that we have today, and I'm not talking about putting hope in a man, I'm talking about in the world what we're dealing with right now. That Trump
You believe
is
that.
it is the only hope that we have to not cross the line into full blown communism and Marxism and full on tyranny.
What about, let me ask
I
you, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I want to play devil's
okay,
advocate. What about the
okay.
people who say, because I've got to. So, what about the folks who say, yeah, you might be right, but it just means that it'll happen slower? It'll still happen, but it'll happen slower. There's a lot of
Let
people
me
who
tell.
feel like that.
Well, a feeling like that is fine to feel that way. However, you have to understand two things to know why that is likely not the prognosis. Number one, you have to understand history and the history of this country and how and what we were founded on. And we are the country that sets the tone for the rest of the world. Right now, the rest of the world is trying to drag. They know that if they do not conquer the United States, we are the last bastion of freedom, true freedom in this world. And that if they can get us on board with this whole one world reset, then they can move forward with their plan. However, the United States has never been that country. We actually set the tone for the rest of the world. So the one thing that you have to understand is the history of this country. Um, Number one, and number two, what you also have to know, and many of your viewers, I don't, and listeners may not know, you have to understand that 70% of the people, and I believe that it will be bared out that it was that many, if not more, voted for this president because they were voting for freedom for this country. They weren't voting necessarily for a man, many of them were, but the 70% of the people that I believe that it will bear out that voted for this country, voted for the president, voted for freedom. And the people will fight for their freedom here in this country. They will, if given the opportunity to do so. Um, so if you don't know who Trump supporters are, you don't know who patriots are. You know, Republicans have never had a lot of cojones. They've never been fighters. But let me tell you something, the same way that I say that certain kinds of people will show you who they are, as you know, when they have a moment, when you force them to make a choice between their family and their livelihood and their generational wealth and their future, they're going to show you how down for Black Lives Matter and people of color that they are, even though they run around, you know, banging the drum and putting a black screen on their Instagram. They will show
Okay,
you.
qualify that.
Okay,
Qualify
so
that statement. So you're not saying that you are for Black Lives Matter. What you're saying is
I'm not.
when all
I'm
of the
just.
water,
I'm saying that when water is under the bridge, that
yeah.
that 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 white folks. I'm sorry. I hope I can say that and not be, you know,
Why not?
vilified
White
for saying
folks
so.
exist.
That white folks
White
will
folks
show you at the end
exist.
of the day, they will show you who they are and what they really believe in. And you know what they believe in? They believe in their family. They believe in taking care of their own. They believe in their business. They believe in economics. They vote with their checkbooks. Okay, so I don't want to stray away from the question and the point. The point is this: that if that if understand the history of this country and understand that there that the second point that I kind of got lost on was that we lead the world. We are our president, whoever the president is, and whoever he has been in history, and whoever he will be in the future, is the leader of the free world. And so, when
True.
this is all said and done, we will set the tone for what's going on in the rest of the world. And that is the fight that you're seeing right now with this election. It isn't about Trump being an ass, or Trump being, a racist, or we don't want Trump. We don't like, the world is fighting for us. The world is saying, hey, listen, if the United States goes, we're doomed. And that is very
Well,
true.
I know
So,
Australia. I know Australia is one of those places, and we have David Harris in the chat right now, who is an avid supporter of our channel, and I love him for that. His statement is: see the list of reps who backstab Trump must make it hard to get things done. Yes, it does. But one thing that I have said on this channel publicly, and I will not backtrack it now, I honestly feel as if he was such a person who really went into the office, which is the reason why I sort of backed up from voting this time, was I felt as if, hey, get the garbage out of your own camp. And I
well,
believe his heart was in the right place. I
that
believe
is
his
what
heart
his
was in the
second,
right place. I believe
that
his
is
heart
what
was in the
his,
right place, and I believe that he meant to do well. But unfortunately, it proves that the depths of evil run deep. Now,
it,
Melinda Ann said, "My oath to fight and defend the Constitution did not expire." She said, "I served in the military for everyone to have the right to make their own decisions, good or bad, but that does not give you the right to infringe on my rights." To continue, um, Rachel says military defend the Constitution, and veterans defend the Constitution. She also continues to say, no, well, she's talking to old head Deuce. They're having a conversation in the chat. And I'm not sure, and
I love it.
I'm
No,
not
I love it.
sure if, and I'm not sure if Lee Hill is still here. But if he is, the invitation still stands, sir, for you to grab that link. Um, and so
Let,
I agree with everything you're saying, but again, because David said I had no idea how bad things were. David, you and I had a chat, and I'm not sure if you remember. Months ago, you were really heavy on my heart, and I started to pray for you, and you were like, you know what, things aren't so bad here. And then as soon as we had that conversation, I looked at the news, and things were going the opposite direction. But one thing that gave me hope and pause at the same time was the way that people in Australia were literally fighting back. I said, you better work. I thought to myself,
yes.
Australians, I said, Australians, baby, you better work it out. Honey, they were working those police officers overtime.
And
Okay?
going to
Because they
jail,
were
and
standing.
willing to
Yes,
go to jail, and
yes,
willing to do
yes,
that. And we haven't
yes,
gotten there yet.
yes.
But let me promise you something. Let me promise you this, and I'm not trying to get on on a political role, but I believe
You
that what
can
is
go any
happening
direction.
is
Listen,
very,
let me just
let me
say
say,
this, Kim. Stop and hold your thought because I want to give this disclaimer. Everything we're dealing with right now is political. Every
I
single
agree.
thing that we're dealing right now is
Yeah, I
bureaucracy.
agree.
It is political, and there is no way for us to divide it unless we insert the Holy Spirit. Then we can say that
Okay.
even in
And
as much as it is political, we know that He has control. So, with that said, you have the floor, ma'am.
let me just, I'm going to roll through a couple things, and then I'm going to be a better listener. I promise. But Americans are not going to roll over on this. And I live in that world of conservatives. I live in that world of Republicans. I live in that world of Trump supporters. And I'm going to tell you this, that Americans are not going to roll over on this. And that does not mean, they're not going to be burning down buildings. That's not going to be the right. I can promise you that. But they're not rolling over on this at all. That unlike what you're seeing on mainstream media, there are some major issues that are now working their way up into the higher courts, and the lower courts are partisan, and the media is playing it all down. But they want us to be unknowing. They want us to be unaware of uh, what an amazing uh, case that the RNC and that the Trump campaign has, for the issues with mail-in ballots, for the issues with the Dominion software, and this Smartmatic software and the all of the fraud that's been caught with people on the ground. But let me say this:
Yeah.
Americans are not rolling over on this. That Trump
No.
has cojones and he is not blinking. Okay, and that look at what just look at what happened. Just I mean, we could take any day's news, but let's just take the news today. Feinstein, Dianne Feinstein, she stepped down as the top Democrat in the judiciary. Why would she do
Thank
that?
God.
Because she's panicking, because she knows that Joe Biden is not going to, or she feels like it's not going to work out, that Joe Biden is not going to be our president, and she does not want to be in that position. As a matter of fact,
As a matter of fact, are you still with us? Well,
hear
I'll
me?
just speak
Can,
until she comes.
can you
Yeah,
hear me?
now we can hear you.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes,
Anyway,
yes.
I'm saying that why would Dianne Feinstein step down from one of the most powerful positions in the judiciary? Because she's panicking, because she knows something that we don't. Trump is not conceding. The mainstream media is demanding that he do so. Even Fox, which is supposed to be, Republican leaning, and it isn't anymore. It is an illusion. You've got players like Adam Schiff who are tweeting and demanding that Trump can.
Your microphone is going out, but to her point with regards to, channels like Fox or whatnot, Kim's
In a lot of
background
trouble. But
is,
let
oh,
me
you're
let me say
back, you're
one.
back.
Yeah, but let me say one last thing about this, and I'm sorry I'm tweeting out that I'm not. I guess my Wi-Fi is not working so good. But let me ask you this: are these the actions of people who are in control? Are these the actions of leaders that believe that we are really moving into a Biden administration? I challenge you I suggest it's the absolute opposite. And why? And the why is getting back to these COVID restrictions, and the why we have to be people that are under controlled and censored and propagandized. It's all part of, like, it's an octopus with all these different legs, but it all goes back to the same body. That this whole mandate, all these mandates and all these different things that are happening, and them pushing Biden as a president elect down our throats, when in fact it, 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 it's probably not going to be the case. And I wish I could say that it surely wasn't going to be the case. But listen, if we want our freedoms, Biden is not going to be your man. He's just not
You're
going
right.
to be. And I don't
You're
care if
right.
you like Trump now. It doesn't matter if you like Trump. It doesn't matter if you think he's a racist. It doesn't matter any of those things. Prosperity and liberty were the things that he accomplished in his first term. But I'm going to tell you something. If he gets a second term, which I believe that he will, all the things that we wished he had done in his first term, the gloves will be off, and all of
Okay,
the
I'm gonna
the
have to
gloves will be off.
interject. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
have to interject because you and
Go
I,
ahead.
you guys, again, these are conversations that Kim and I have in our private conversations. So we are, we that's the one thing that I always say, even publicly on this platform, that we are the yin and the yang. Because for me, I feel as if I agree with a lot of the things that Kim is saying, but my problem is, and possibly will continue to be, some of the things that I see that have not been done adequately to my taste, right? In 2016, no secret, we all know I voted for Trump. There was a litmus test for me that I needed to see, and I did not see those things come through to fruition. The final thing for me was this whole COVID testing thing. And then it went into the whole taxpayer money government spent for the vaccine. Now, I say that because I did not agree and do not agree with the contents of the vaccine. I don't feel like we should have been a part of creating anything like that that would have to be later mandated state, for all the states. And in as much as I heard what the general said last week and even ran it here on the show, I don't agree with the fact that, yeah, you start out by saying that things will be given out to those who they deem, quote, air quotes here, who they deem the most vulnerable. And let me just say this, that the most vulnerable are people of a specific age group, people who happen to be of a specific size, people who happen to be, heart patients, or people who have diabetes, or people who are over a certain age, or so all of these things together, it makes you then go into the whole lesser of the two evil thing. And
But
that's what I have a problem with the
but you
whole
missed
scenario.
but you
I
missed
don't
a
want to
good
choose the
thing.
lesser of the two evil. Okay,
But
well,
you
tell me
just
what the good thing is.
you miss when you talk about vulnerable. And listen, I watched that same thing, and we talked about that press conference, right? When we talk about who are the most vulnerable among us, it's not just physical attributes and health vulnerabilities. It's also people who are on um, fixed incomes through the government, Medicaid and Medicare and WIC and unemployment. Like, it's all those people who under the state of emergency, the government could say, in order for you to continue to get your benefits, those are the vulnerable people. The poor people are the benefits, or the poor people are the most vulnerable, as well as the sick people and the old people. And so, under which administration do you think is going to say that under a state of emergency that those vulnerable people have to get the vaccine? Is it going to be a Biden administration, or is it going to be a Trump administration? And it doesn't
Let
matter
me
if
be
you like
honest.
Trump or not.
Let me be honest. I'm going to tell you what
Yeah.
I think it is.
Okay.
What I think it is, and here's what I think it is. I think that the way that things are written right now is indisputably angled at allowing the states' rights to kick in. However, states' rights are, I believe that things are trickling down to the governors, and this is me, to allow him, for whatever reason. Say, for example, let me just use this scenario. Okay, everything is over. President Trump is still in. The water is behind us. Now we know he's still the president. Okay, let's start there. Now, let's deal specifically with the vaccine. Let's deal specifically with the aforementioned individuals in the groups that you just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that by him stepping back and allowing the governors to decide, it is truly and honestly his bidding. And this is my opinion. Because what will happen is the states will say, if you don't get this, then you can't get your food stamps. If you don't get this, then you can't get your housing. If you don't
True.
wear the mask, then you can't do this or that. Okay.
True.
But if he had just stopped, and I know for political reasons that the whole entire state of emergency was reenacted October 23rd. I know that that was political. However, I can't help in the back of my mind think that it was also done to stay innocent but complicit in what a lot of these governors are doing in the states, because I feel that eventually, if this whole thing just stops, then the governors will not be afforded the opportunity to usurp this, godlike mentality over people. And I use the term usurp because they do not have the power to go over and against a person's sovereignty and a person's right to choose themselves what they will and will not put on their body, and what they will and not put it interject into their body. And so I feel as if he's being a little shady, and this is just my opinion. I wanted to see him go in office and drain the swamp. I didn't want to see him align himself, and this is just me talking. I did not want to see him go in and align himself with a lot of the people that he aligned himself with. I did not want to see his son-in-law being a mouthpiece between Israel and the United States. I did not want to see his son-in-law do anything but show up for Thanksgiving and Christmas. To be candid with you, I didn't want to see the
Okay.
cat anywhere near the White House. And so those are my feelings. However, I do understand that a lot of people feel that right now he is the last bastion of hope, and that is what people feel. But I'm just saying, if I look at your record and I look at who you had around you, I'm side eyeing him now. Kim, I'm side
It's
eyeing, and
fair.
I'm
That's
sorry, but I
very
just
fair.
am.
No, that's very fair. And listen, I don't eat 100 yards of his, you know what. just because I support the president and I support him and I vote. Like, listen, I wish I could tell you that everything that you said was wrong, and I cannot do that. I can tell you based on what I have seen, what what my opinion is. And my opinion is that he needs this second term to be able to, like, what we are watching right now is the swamp revealing itself. Not just the swamp that we knew about, but the swamp that we didn't even know about. The international swamp. Like, it's huger than I think he probably had any idea how big it was when he took the oath of office. But I will say this, that I have to be positive. Um, that's the one thing. But is it possible that I'm completely wrong? Sure, it's possible that I'm completely wrong. I don't think so. And I believe that he is a master chess player. And I believe that he is allowing us to see who these people are. He is allowing his enemies within to reveal themselves. He is allowing us to see who the swamp really is. And I believe that he's got all that he is holding all the cards. And I believe at the right time he will play those cards, and I believe that that is the uncertainty that we're seeing. I believe that that's what's playing out right now, and it's uncomfortable for all of us. It is anxiety laden for all of us, no matter who we voted for and who we want to be the president. It doesn't matter, because both of us on either side is sitting there going, oh my God, like, I hope it works out in our favor for different reasons. But I do believe that he, like I said, one thing about him is he does not blink, and he's not blinking. Now, the whole thing that you said about Jared Kushner, I listen, the fact that he is doing what he's doing with Israel, like, that's policy, okay? And I don't necessarily agree with that particular, with his policy in Israel. I do believe that we need peace, and we need an end to these wars, these unending wars, and perhaps, you have to give a few to get a few. And I also know where he comes from. He comes from Queens. He comes from the real, like, he's dealt with the mafia in order to build his empire, and so I get what concerns you about Jared Kushner and his role
A
in all of
lot,
this.
a lot.
I
There's a
get it. I
lot
get
that
it. I
concerns
get
me.
it. I get it. But a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of that is policy, and it might be a means to an end, to end these endless wars. And I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with that particular thing. And that's the thing that I think that people have to understand about people who support Trump. We're not all in with everything that he does. So
Right. But
I
here's my
feel you on
question.
that. I feel you on that. But I will say this, that what that has to do with all of us being forced to take the mark of the beast under Biden, or like,
Wait a
for
minute.
what does that have? I don't believe that that's necessarily. Don't slay me with your with your
Here I
biblical,
come, because you know I'm coming.
I feel you coming already. But
You
let me
know I'm coming with the
you
word.
can come.
You know I'm coming. Let me come on here. Let me say
But
this.
listen, I
Let
know
me
what you're
say
about to go,
this.
and I want you to go there because I believe it's important. But let me just say this: that I do
Okay, go
believe
ahead.
what he has allowed the governors to do per the Constitution is because A, it's the right thing to do. B, it's showing us who our elected officials are, and who they're aligned with. Um, and I don't necessarily think that he co-signs with any of that. However, he's
I
showing
do.
us who they are. I don't necessarily believe that
I
he's
do.
co-signing with that. I don't.
I do.
But
I do.
listen,
Let me tell you why.
I believe that. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me tell you why. Because this is the deal. We are beyond the 11th hour. And in as much as I understand that he is a great master chess player, and as much as I understand that he possibly went into this with the right feeling and the right emotion and the truest and the best intentions, I feel that being that we are beyond the 11th hour now, we're at dark 30. Okay? For me right now, it's a little late for us to even hold on to any of those isms that people have thrown out about him and about the things that he can and cannot do. Let me say this. Let me say this. For all of the people like Melinda who have gone to places like the Salvation Army and who, in their brokenness, had to go to the Salvation Army to ask for help. In their brokenness, they got rejected. For all the people who have gone in and have asked for extensions for bills that prior to March 13th, they were able to pay out of their income. For all of the men and the women who have hung themselves, shot themselves, killed themselves, had themselves hurt or harmed, okay, because of suicide, dealing with this whole entire situation, because of the men who could not look their wives in the face because they could not be the man and take care of their households again and decided to end it all, much to their chagrin. They did it. For all of those individuals, I want to ask this one question. Who would allow themselves to be considered a leader and knowingly walk into something like that and see what fell at the wayside? That is all I've got to say. And I feel like, yes, as it relates to this whole luciferase injection, whether it be a tattoo, whether it be an injection, whether it be, a mark of whatever type, we cannot, we cannot forget the fact that these things are happening prior to January 21st, 2021. These things
Yes,
are happening right
you're right.
now.
You're
There
right.
are
And
hungry
so,
people right now.
yes. And
There
so
are,
here,
hold on now.
yes,
Hold on. We had all of Louisiana looking to, the majority of people, the Louisianians, looking to be homeless right now. And it's beyond just the whole, COVID thing. So these things are happening. And so my point is, yes, we can hail him as this, type of person who is supposed to be, up and coming, and that he is supposedly a type of a Cyrus and all these things. But at the expense of these
yes.
people,
I
I
understand what
got a
you're
problem
saying,
with it,
and I
girl.
know you do, and
Girl,
I
you know
feel
me.
you, and I do too. But let me say this. First of all, I'm not hailing him as anything, okay? Except for the chief executive and the chief military officer of our company, that of our country, and that's it. But let me say this, and then I'm going to pass this to you if you want to continue to talk about it or change the subject or whatever. But let me say this, that we are in a very vulnerable situation because of the things that you just said and the feelings that you have behind what you just said. And I feel those same things. But it reminds me a of a of a stanza in a poem, the poem "If," which is a very famous poem by Rudyard Kipling, and there's a stanza that says that basically what I think that that the president is doing is putting us all in a vulnerable position. But if he's risking one turn of pitch and toss and lose, and who will be the losers? Our country will be the losers if he's wrong. But he's risking that, and that is what we're feeling right now. That's the uncertainty that we're feeling right now. But the stanza
Yeah,
says, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings. I do believe
yeah.
that a new beginning for this country is coming, and I believe
I
that
respect that.
Trump
I
and
respect
and,
that.
and I believe that our president is risking it all on a turn of pitch and toss, and he could lose. I don't feel that he's going to lose. I think he makes measured decisions, and I believe he's holding all the cards, but he we could lose. And so I totally hear what you're saying. But here's one thing I want to say in terms of how our government works. And I'm not talking about the emotion behind what you just
Absolutely.
said. How our government
Absolutely.
works is our chief executive officer of our country, whether it be Biden, whether it be Trump, when it was Obama, whoever it's going to be in the future, they're not responsible for what happens on the ground in California. We vote our governor. it, we vote for our governor, we vote for our assemblies, and that is the lesson I think that we're all learning, and I hope that we are all taking a step back and we're really thinking about
Right.
how powerful our vote is. But that is
Right.
not the job of the federal government, and it is not the job of our president. And if he could wave a magic wand and keep everybody from suffering, not just in our country but in this world, any when I say he, I'm not even necessarily talking about Trump, but our, a president, if they could do that, then what a glorious world we would live in. It doesn't work that way. And so there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I think that we are seeing how the sausage is made right now. We are getting a civics lesson. We are getting a civics
Okay.
lesson of what the law is, not just in our states, but our
Right.
federal law. Like, we are getting that. And there are a lot of people that are all caught up in their emotions, and they're like, Trump is this and Trump is that, or Biden is this and Biden is that. They are only men, but they are executives. They are executives where you have managers, and the governors are the managers, and the upper level managers are our mayors. Okay. And we vote for these people. We put them in place. So if we got hungry people in Los Angeles County, if we have hungry
Right.
people in Philadelphia, if we have hungry people in Memphis, and we have businesses shutting down in these same cities and states,
Right. Right.
listen, it is because of the mandates that are illegal that are being put into place by the elected officials that we voted for. And I believe that we are headed for a reset, and it can be a global reset like the globalists want to do, or perhaps it can be a new beginning of this country. But we are at a precipice, and I feel you. And I hope it goes the way that I am prayerful that it goes, and the way that my studying about his Trump's doctrine and about his policy and about who he is as a human being, I hope that it
Okay.
goes in our favor. I don't know, but we are in a state
Right.
of pitch and toss, and he's either going to win or lose, and the people
Well,
therefore are either going to lose,
here's
and that's all
here's
I have
what
to
I
say about
say.
that.
And I respect you and I love you and you know that I do. I just have
Yes,
to say that October 23rd was a pivotal time for me when he had the opportunity to rescind that executive order and he did not. And remember now, October 23rd, there was a whole lot of stuff going on around that time. And I feel as if if those of us who were not looking at, whitehouse.gov and all of that stuff, if we weren't looking, we would have missed that whole executive order being written. I remember tweeting him about the Smith-Mund Act, and he had made a comment about the fake news, maybe about 8 months ago, maybe less than that. And I said to him in a tweet, I responded to when he said something about the fake news. Maybe I was like one of the first few hundred people who commented. But I said, I got an idea. How about repeal the the whole Smith Munn thing that Obama had done? How about repeal it? I see some of the people in the chat are making the same statement. But here's what I feel. I understand, I respect everything you have said because in a lesser volatile situation, in my opinion, everything that you have said would be so. But I feel like right now, to do the pitch and toss with communities throughout the United States, when all he had to say was the executive order is through, we are done, we will carry on with our lives. People, make the best decision for yourselves.
but
If
you
you
don't know
guys go
what's
out, there's
coming.
an
But you don't
opportunity.
listen. But we don't know what's coming. And I believe that the reason that he did not repeal it, that he extended it, is because he has to. There's something that's coming down the pipes, and we're living it right now, that he may have to protect the American people from. I don't believe that it is just about COVID. It is about COVID, but he needs to be able to um, have executive powers to protect the country from foreign enemies, from election theft and from all kinds of things that we're dealing with right now, from unlawful COVID mandates. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we may need him to have those executive powers for. So I don't think that it's just about, I believe there's a reason why he extended them, and it's not only COVID.
Well, I believe that it's a lot of self-serving things, right? Because let's
Well,
just be
that's
honest.
emotional,
Let me
though.
just
That's
say this.
emotional.
No, okay. You know that I'm a
What?
fact-based person. Hold on now. Hold on now. Let me come on with it because I'm a fact-based person. It may seem emotional to some, but to me, it's more strategic and it's also more political. And here's why. We just spent as a nation a whole boatload of money on the vaccines that they're claiming that all Americans want when they ain't ever asked me nothing. I do not want a vaccine that is laced with luciferase. Okay, that's the first thing. Second of all, of course, it would have to stay in place. Let's just put the cards on the table. Let's just put the cards on the table. It had to stay in place in order for them to enforce mandatory vaccinations for all of the states at the same time. Now, whether every human being gets them at the same time is of no consequence. However, we heard his representatives say that within 24 hours, all states would be rolled out with this vaccine. That's what his people said. Okay. So we know that in order for that to happen, you have to have a complicit sheep like people who don't have any rights anymore. And all of us know that if you have at any given moment this type of order holding everybody at place, let's be real, 100% real. Everybody's constitutional rights are suspended at that time. So I feel like, yeah, it was done and it could have been for another reason. However, I cannot help but notice the elephant in the room, homeboy. And the elephant in the room is you could not make any of these people take anything if you had not suspended their constitutional rights by way of executive order. And that's all I have to say about it. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like, yeah, it may have been, we don't know what's coming down the pike. All of that stuff is good, but let's just be real. If we
Well,
look at the
let's
statistics,
be real,
go
but
ahead,
let's not
go
give
ahead, go ahead.
conjecture. Let's be real. Let's not have conjecture. And what's real is this: that during that press conference, the general said that he eh, is preparing to roll it out to all of America. He didn't say of all to all Americans.
And I didn't
Okay,
say that either.
I didn't. I'm not saying you said that, but I'm saying that we have no choice at this point. We have no choice at this point but to trust the president because we're screwed. Whether he deserves the trust and violates it, or whether or whether Biden becomes president and forces all of us to take it, we have no
Yeah.
choice. But I tell you what, if
No,
you
I
gave
got a
me
choice.
well, I'm saying we have no choice over the mandate, what they decide to
Okay.
do, whether but it doesn't matter with the federal government. Where are you living? If you're living in California, the governor can
Uh,
say your kids can't go to school, you can't go to work, you can't do this, you can't do that unless you take a vaccine, right?
okay.
The
Okay.
only thing that could change that would be the chief executive officer of the country.
Okay.
And so we
Okay.
have no choice. We are in that pitch and toss and lose point where regardless of how we feel or what our conjecture is, or even mine, I mean, I don't know, I'm just telling you what it is that I think, and you're saying what you
Yeah. Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
but we are
Yeah.
all in a state of angst waiting to find out. But I'm
True.
going to tell you what, if anybody
Come on.
that but I will tell you this, anybody that voted for Biden and thinks that Trump's the devil, and that's on you, and you could be
Right.
right. If you voted for Biden, but you want to start complaining about wearing masks and potentially being forced to take a vaccine, the only person that has suggested either of those two things is Biden. So what? So
Okay.
now
Let
you're
me
gonna
let me ask you a question. Let me
okay?
ask you a question. Hold that thought because it's a very powerful thought. But to my original point that I have started and that I have said on this channel many times, if you ever watched Dragnet, you used to see Friday and the other little skinny cat decide who was going to be good cop and bad cop. You have two sides of the same exact coin. And that is exactly what I feel is being done to us right now, which is, I believe, the reason why I bowed out gracefully as it related to voting for either of them, because I personally did not choose the lesser of the two evils, which a lot of people, especially the body of believers, elected to do, right?
Fair enough.
I
Fair enough.
chose, you know what I'm saying? I chose not to have nothing to do with none of them because, see, here's me. This is my point. I feel like if I can see bad on one side and I can see bad on the other side, but I ain't hearing no rectification on either side of what the bad is, they ain't coming out saying, okay, I repent and I'm going to change it. And then I see their action, corresponding action with their statement and the deeds to follow. The way I see it is you're both bad. And so for me, when I see a executive order go in and be written in on the 23rd, extending it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I see that, and then I see states roll out, because now he can now be he can now say, it's deniable plausibility to me. To me, it's deniable plausibility. Hey, I didn't do it. Look at your governor. Hey, I didn't do it. Yo, homeboy, in my opinion, you straight up did it. Because
Well,
on the
if
23rd, all you had to do, and this is me, on the 23rd, all you had to do was say, hey, you know what? Let the people decide what is best for them personally. But we're going to go ahead and lift this executive order, and we're going to allow everybody to get back to their lives as they should, and let the
okay,
people. And see, here's the thing about
okay,
Americans. Here's the thing about Americans. Americans have and always will. We are the bounce back kids. Why? Because we don't need nobody to tell us how to take care of our household. Just move out my way and let me do me. You feel me? Okay, now let's talk about my actual licensure. As a master cosmetologist, all you got to do for me, boo boo, is move out the way. Let me cut and color this hair. Let me do what I need to do without these masks so I can go ahead on and pick up and recoup my loss that I've had over the past several months. And to
and who's
me,
stopping
if
you?
you
Who's
say that,
stopping you?
hold on. Well, hello, wait a minute. Come on now, look here now,
Now, I'm
California. Let's
asking
use
you
them
who's
as an
stopping you.
example.
I'm asking you who is stopping you. I'm asking.
I, I'm going to give the inevitable stoppage. And the inevitable is that as long as we have that executive order in place, the states are allowed to be as rogue as they want. And you and I both know that some of these states are rogue because of who's running them. You know what I'm saying? But my opinion is that as long as these states have that executive order in play, they are using it to their advantage. And I believe personally that the president is allowed deniable plausibility. And that's just how I see it. I believe that he can say, hey, it wasn't me, it was your governor. Yo, but homeboy, if you had just rescinded that executive order on the 23rd as opposed to extending it, it would have been one thing. But I do believe that the reason why he did not was not so much about the COVID, it was about the money that had already been spent on making all of those vaccines. And now we're at the table where on the, what is it, the early part of December, they will have already pushed the FDA to give a clearance for this thing. So let's not forget about that. Let's
Okay,
not
so
forget
let
about
me
the
ask
fact.
you a question. Let me ask you a
Yeah,
question.
come on, come on, come
What
on.
what okay, so what if the president did not declare a state of emergency in his executive order federally during what is supposed to be a pandemic? What if he did not do that? What if he did not fund Operation Warp Speed to get a vaccine available so that the people that were saying that our cities and states and everything, schools would be shut down until we had a vaccine? What if he did none of that? What would you be saying then?
Restate your question.
What if
No,
he did none
restate
of
it
those
because I'm
things?
reading the
Yeah,
comments as well.
yeah. What if he did none of
What
those
if he
things?
didn't?
What if he
What
did
if he
not?
did not?
What if he did none of those things during a pandemic? or a supposed pandemic? What if he did none of those things in terms of Operation Warp Speed and funding a vaccine that everybody, in or at least on the left in the blue state, said that we must have so that we can go back to normal? What if he did none of
Uh-huh.
those things? What would we be saying then?
Well, I think that at that point, if he did not, and here's just what I'm going to say just off rip, if he had not extended the executive order, the governors would not be given the free check to write that they have. They
But
would
they're
not.
not but they haven't been given that by the president. They've been given that by the Constitution. And that's the point that I'm making, that we can blame our president all we want. We can have our feelings about what a rogue guy that he is, and how all these were political decisions, and I'm just going to say
Okay,
this,
let
that
me. Okay, hold on.
he is doing his job as the chief executive, and the
Hmm.
governors have powers that if they're abusing them on the people of their state, we elected those people. And he is not, his job is not to protect us from the governor. If they're hopefully, if they're tyrants, hopefully
Kim,
they'll go to
Kim,
jail. But
Kim,
listen,
Kim, Kim,
that's not how our government
Kim,
works. It's not
Kim,
how our government.
Kim.
Hold on, I hear you saying my name. Hold on. But that is not how our government works.
Our government hasn't worked the way that it's supposed to work for several years. With that
I
said,
I
ladies and
agree.
gentlemen who are in the chat, ladies and gentlemen who will be watching on the replay, let me just boldly say right here that it does not matter whether or not the governors are being moved because he has this in place. If he were to have rescinded it, the Constitution would be reignited because now, as we all know, it is suspended as long as it is a federal, okay, a federal mandate saying we are under executive order. We are under an emergency. All right. As long as we are under this emergency, it does roll down to the states. And my question is one of two things. It would then go then to the AG, okay, who has been absent. He's been AWOL, ain't seen the cat. Anything he said he was going to do from the Durham report all the way down, nothing has come to fruition. So
I feel you on that.
as as a citizen of my state, okay, as a person who is in this country, the only thing that I can say is that the lot of them stink to high heaven. Why? Because he knows that as long as that emergency order is in place, that these governors are going to act the way that he is going to act. And if it were not for the fact that he had already spent all of our money that he has spent on this Operation Warp Speed, then we would not be dealing with what we're dealing with. In my opinion, he is a part of the world's wide problem for New World Order to be rolled out, starting with the major player, and that is the United States. Now, with that said, this channel has only been started because I see things in a way that others do not. I see things as a whole as opposed to a part of or a organization or a group of individuals that I believe in, right? I see it as a bird's eye view. And as a bird's eye view looking at the whole entire picture, my perspective is that every single person who is playing a part in this clown college theatrics that we are looking at right now, every single person is complicit, and every single person that is in a position of power is wrong for everything that they are pressing upon these individuals who are being treated as slaves right now. I believe that the
Agreed.
president may have
Agreed.
I believe that the president started out with a very good mindset, obviously so, or I would not have voted for him in 2016. However, immediately after voting for him, the next morning when I got up, ironically, and I say ironically because as I look back at it now, it's amazing. The Most High showed me that all his election did was bought us some time to get our game together. Now I am at this place where I see exactly what the Holy Spirit was saying the day after we elected him, that they were two sides of the same coin, and it was solidified when he stood among all of those people and said that the Clintons were very nice people. That they're very nice people. And all I could think about was those poor children over in Haiti. All I could think about was the people who got cell phones in Haiti and didn't get near one of the houses that were promised. All I could think about was the people who had been promised housing and then they went out and looked at the tallest mountain that all of the Haitians had avoided and they saw houses put up there that none of them would go to. All I could think about was the trafficked children. All I could think about was the people who had been sold, okay, part and parcel sold on the black market. All I could think about was those people. And right now, that's all I can think about, Kim. And I,
I hear
I
you.
feel you. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I hear
I
you.
feel you because I
I
want to believe. I truly wanted to believe, you know what I mean? That it was all going to be good. But when I look at all the people on the black market that are sold, when I look at all the parts that are harvested, when I look at all the babies that are aborted and sold, when I look at all of that, I'm saying, yo, man, you had 4 years and all you did was
okay.
stockpile the people around you with the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Listen,
That's how I.
I do. I do get what you're saying, and I don't diminish one thing you're saying. And I agree with you in terms of what makes my heart ache.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
However, let me just say this, that we're going to have to, I don't think that it serves anyone well to be in a position where we're pointing fingers.
right.
I think that if we want to look at the whole, who even gave, the Clinton Foundation the ability to do business in Haiti in the first place, and that was
Girl, come
King
on now.
Obama. Okay,
Come
and
on,
so what
girl.
I'm
Come
saying,
on.
and that was Obama, and I voted for Obama. Okay, and I respect and understand anybody who did. I'm not disparaging them. I'm not criticizing.
Right,
I'm saying that
right.
so as a layman, if you and I are sitting back and saying, "Oh, well, in 4 years he hasn't fixed it." Well, you know what? Maybe he needs his 8 years to fix it. Maybe his way, I don't know.
I
I
agree.
know
I agree
I
with
know what
that.
I think I know. I know, but so I guess all I can say is that regardless of whether you're right, I'm right, or the truth is somewhere in the middle, that we are at a precipice right now today,
True,
today.
true,
And and
true.
and so if what makes your heart ache, among many things, is the children in Haiti and the sex trafficking, it's the Trump administration that has uh, arrested like hundreds and thousands and rescued hundreds and thousands, and he doesn't even get any credit for that in the media. People don't even know it. I mean, there's a
Well,
lot
that's his
going
own
on that we
fault.
don't see. Well,
That's his
no,
own fault.
listen, listen, I don't know whose fault it is, but what I'm saying is that, but despite him getting credit or not getting credit, the work is still going on. And we are, I guess at the end of the day, I am saying that we are at that pitch and toss and lose or win place, and that
Yes.
we've got a few weeks here to see how it pans out. And like I said, if your whole thing is not having is the mask mandates and potentially being forced to take a vaccine, or the
Yeah.
the rights in Haiti to be wronged, you know what? The only chance that we have is the current president that we have, and because Biden
Well,
ain't gonna
you're
do
right
none of,
about
no,
that.
he's
To
not
get it
gonna do
right.
any of that. He's not gonna do any of that, and so we'll see. We will see, because we will have no choice but to sit back for the next few weeks and watch it all play out. And that's one of the reasons why we got on the phone, or on this stream this evening, to talk about it,
That's
because
true.
it
That's
is a
true.
we are in a holding pattern. There is a lot going on behind the scenes that we can speculate
Yes.
on, and that
Yes.
we are all feeling anxiety about. And there was one, if you have the app called Next.
Your phone is cutting out right now, Kim. And unfortunately, a lot of us have, the internet issues that's going on with our phones or with our computers or whatever. But here's what I'm going to say to everybody in the chat right now. Kim and I have these kind of conversations. We love each other. We are not arguing with each other. But I enjoy having a friend like her in my life because it keeps that stimulation of conversation going. Because believe it or not, we together, she and I, we are the sum total of what Americans feel right now. You know what I'm saying? There are people who feel like I feel. There are people who feel like she feels. My only feeling about the whole entire thing, and the reason why I have been as transparent as I have been with everybody on my channel, is specifically because I feel as if I was sold a bill of goods that was not fair. I believe that when I voted for somebody back in 16, that I was voting for somebody who, with what they said, was what they were going to do, right? And that's not what I got. What you get for the money is what we were talking about this past Saturday. I mentioned what you get for the money, and what you get for the money is not what we're dealing with right now. The whole luciferase inside of this vaccine, the whole, human piece that's inside the vaccine. I'm not signing up for none of that. That's not who I am. I'm not for any of that. And I love Kim. Kim is outstanding, and I hear everything she's saying. My mom and dad used to say back several years ago, God rest my birth mother's soul, hey, give that person another 4 years and let them fix what they've done. And for that reason alone, I could agree with Kim in saying yes, give him the opportunity to fix what he's done. However, what it looks like right now is not that he would be fixing what he's done. It looks to me as if he'd be putting the nail in the coffin for the stuff he's already started. And so that is the reason why on our channel I have decided to just stand on the side of the Most High. I've decided to stand on his side. I've decided to stand on the side of prayer. I've decided to stand on his side because, unlike humans, he sees all and knows all. He knows the intentions of man's heart. You know what I'm saying? He knows the intentions of people's heart. And because he knows the intention of people's heart, I can trust in him that he's got my life in his head, right? So Kim and I, we have these great conversations all of the time. And I love it because unlike some people, they can't have these kind of conversations and just stay real with each other. You know what I mean? But she and I do, and I feel like that's one of the good things about our relationship is that we can see each other, we can respect each other, which is not what's going on in the world right now. You can have people who have two differing personalities, two differing opinions, and they're out here in the middle of the street having at it with each other. But when you are a well rounded adult, you can have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? You can have these
Yeah.
conversations, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't have to, feel as if after that it's over. We're not trying to take each other down. I love Kim, and there is nothing on this planet that she cannot call me and say, hey, she needed, and she wouldn't have it if I had it, right? If I got a chicken, she got a chicken. If I got two, she got one. If I got one, she got half, right? We never, praise God, I pray we never get to that point. But my point is, if I got a bag of beans, she got half of them. So it's just the fact that yes, this is the sound of America right now. Believe it or not, the conversation that she and I are having this evening, this is the sound of America right now. And I submit. that the only reason why we sound the way that we do right now in America is because we are intelligent enough to see what's up and see what's in front of us and deal with it in a laser like fashion. It is of no consequence that our country has spent billions of dollars on this Operation Warp Speed. It is of no consequence, and we cannot hide the fact that the FDA is now pondering the idea of allowing it, which we know that the whole pondering is a stage, it's a setup. They're going to agree with it anyway because they're made up of people who are going to benefit from having had this, thing on the scene. My only thing is that we cannot walk blindly into what the contents of this particular of any of these vaccines are. I truly and honestly do not believe that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be. I don't believe that it's going to be a straight up injection. What I believe is that it will be more of a tattoo type thing because the word declares that on the arm, which is on the hand, which is really literally in the Greek, the whole entire arm. I believe that it is going to be something that can be injected that will have teeth, that will have an ability to sink in and to be able to make you transhuman. Why? Because every single television show that they have on right now is headed in that direction. So for
And let
me
me,
and my house,
yes,
we shall serve the Most High Yah.
and
Period.
let me
Go ahead,
ask you
girl.
this. I have a question, and if anybody that's listening has the answer, please type it out because I want to know this. How in the world do we even come out with a vaccine for a virus that we can't even test for? Because we don't even have a COVID
Because,
test. We don't even have a
well, they
COVID
started it
test. They're
years
not,
ago.
but that's what I'm
They
asking.
started this
Like,
years ago. Yeah.
how do we, so I guess
Yeah.
my question is, how do we, if we don't even have a straight up COVID test, because what they're testing for is not COVID. It might be a form of SARS, it might be a form of who knows what, the flu, whatever. How do we even have a vaccine for a virus that we don't even have a freaking test for? I don't understand.
I understand, and it's because it is a goal to get everybody under the assumption of the one world order because what's inside of the vaccine has absolutely nothing to do with COVID. That is a smokescreen. And if the majority of us would just, chill up with that and get on with that and realize that that's really truly what it's about, then we wouldn't have these isms. You know what I'm saying? I believe that the purpose of this whole entire thing is to stop and start again. And when we
Okay.
stop and start again, it's going to be the way that they want it to be, which means they'll be able. See, let me break it down biblically. Hold on for a second. Let me break it down biblically. The devil's job has always been to mimic or replace God. And so when you think of a man and woman procreating, what does he do? He goes and makes everybody feel like the opposite should be accepted. So you got man and man, woman and woman. When you think of us eating animals and us eating the fruit of the vine and the fruits and vegetables and all of that other stuff, what did they go do? They took those very same plants where the word of God declares to us, he said, I've given you each and every herb bearing seed to heal your body. What did they do? They created and they made the entire pharmaceutical, and the pharmaceutical companies have now pushed back on every single natural herb. Why? Because the devil's job is to attempt to replace God. I've got to be real with this thing. I cannot just separate the spirit from the natural and say, well, these are natural things. These are not things that are dealing in the spirit realm. Every single war that has ever been fought has started in the spirit realm first and manifested in the natural. With that, every single thing that they have ever done to affect humanity has been a direct assault against the Most High Yah. Every single thing that's been done. There has been nothing that has been done that has been just an assault on man. No, everything that the devil has done has always been to exhort himself above the Most High. Okay, that's the first piece. The second piece of that is he knows that God is the Most High God, the Most High Yah is omnipotent. He is all knowing. He is omnipresent. So, how can he replicate that? Well, let's go ahead and make sure that every single person puts this inside of their body so that now Big Brother, as it were, knows everywhere you go, everything you think, everywhere you are. So they started out with the nanites in the food several years ago. We didn't even know about the nanites if it was not for several people who were bold enough to come out and say that the foods had nanites in them. What is a nanite? These little bitty tiny robots. And then all of us are thinking, well, what are the robots for? I submit that they are for such a time as this, because those particular nanites are now waiting to be just now waiting to be enacted with what is going on in this thing. And as soon as that happens, you turn on that 5G and baby, what? You got a party. And it ain't one that the people who have been injected with want. So I believe if we just take all the curtains down, take it all down and show what it truly and honestly is, it is an attack and an affront against God, against his creation, against everything that is him. They want to control everything. They want to make sure that you say so confused that you cannot see your savior. That's the point. And so if we just take all of the Bidens out of the party, take all the Trumps out of the party, take all of the Kushners out of the party, take all the Netanyahus out of the party, take all of the everybody out of the party ain't supposed to be in a party. You're gonna see two. You're gonna see good, you're gonna see evil. And it doesn't matter who's on the evil side or in the middle of the evil side. Evil is still evil. And there's only one good. But that is the truth. The truth is that they've known about this for several years. One thing I'll say, unlike the body, unlike the body of Christ, these demonic forces are so organized because they make the plan and they set to the plan. And when they
Ain't that the
set to the
truth?
plan, they don't come off of it. They don't come off
Mm-mm.
of it
Mm-mm.
until they meet it. Now, we got Agenda 2021. They're
Mm-hmm.
already at the precipice of that. The next thing they're
Mm-hmm.
working on, they already passed 2021. Now they headed to 2030 because they
Mm-hmm.
already know. And I guarantee you that if you were to look at their plan, they're already halfway through that. Why? Because unlike the body, they don't know how to stay unified. You got half of the body over here voting for Biden. You got the other half of the body over here voting for Trump. Then you got everybody forgetting about the fact that we are not even supposed to be a part of the world system. And yet we are fighting, not you and I, but in
Mm-hmm.
general, over what human being is going to give us the most Christmas goose in the pot.
Yeah, but
That
that's
is what
real.
everybody is fighting over.
I
You
understand,
feel
and
me?
but I do, and that's why I'm saying, that when I'm speaking about what I see in geopolitics, that's in our worldly
Yes,
world that we live in, and we would
yes,
be remiss to not do the best that we can to discern what's happening around us, and that I'm not saying that we don't defer to the Most High for our answers, but that's personal, and it's what we want for the world. But we also are living in a worldly space, and geopolitics is part of that space. And I think that we are doing the best that we can to discern and understand it.
I have to agree with you, girl. This has been the most stimulating hour and 47 minutes that we have had in a long time. I want to thank everybody who has been in the chat. I want to go from the furthest out, which is my love, David Harris, for being here. And I say furthest out because my homeboy is down under. He is down under. And I want to thank him for being here in the chat. I want to thank Old Head Deuce, one of my moderators, for being here in full effect. I want to thank Maynard. I want to thank everybody, Love in the Midst, Melinda Ann. I want to thank Rachel. I want to thank More Brutal. Okay, 2020. CDA, Way Harris, thank you. I want to also thank, let's see, Rachel. We said Rachel. I think that's about it. Melinda, we said Melinda. R. Jones. Hey, R. Jones. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank every single person who's taking their opportunity and their time tonight to listen to this most heated conversation between one of my very close friends and myself, who is a family friend of this channel, and that is Kim. Kim Roberts is a friend of this channel, and I want to thank you guys all for welcoming her tonight. I love it because it does bring that conversation to the table of the differences that we are all feeling right now. And I think it takes us all the way back to the book of the beginnings, and that is that we are to trust. and believe in the Most High. And Melinda, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Everybody who is here, thank you guys so much for sharing your last hour and 50 minutes with us. We're going to just keep our eyes open, you guys. Before we turn out of here tonight, I just want to tell you guys, no matter what happens tomorrow, no matter what happens, no matter what they bring against you in your state, your city, your borough, your county, whatever it is, you guys just remember to keep our eyes focused on the Most High, because He will never steer us wrong. You know, Kim said some very powerful things tonight, and we got to think about those. And we also have to stick close to the Word. And I think, of course, we know the Word does take precedence over anything we can think, because we all know, including Kim knows, we all know, all of us corporately, that's the one thing we have in common, is that we know the Word of God will not return unto Him void, and that we know His Word is true. So no matter how this thing turns out, you guys, just stay encouraged. Keep yourselves, just hey, if you can get to a store, y'all, we've been saying this for what, the past several months. Get a little extra if you can. Buy a little extra, you guys. Some of us are ordering and purchasing online so that we can have enough. You know what I'm saying? Take care of yourselves, take care of your families. If you have people around you guys that are, without, try to help them the best that you can. Um, we are all at a place where we are in need. Every single one of us. There is none of us in this chat that cannot think of one thing that we need. But I can tell you one thing, that if we trust in God and we believe in Him, He will make sure that we never have a moment without. Okay? Kim, I love you. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
I
coming
have
out
to
with us
say,
tonight.
I feel so much better.
Yes.
I do, because I think we were, when you called me, you were like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm up and down." But I mean, we have to talk it out, and give each other uplift, and some critical thinking, and some word, and all those things. And so I appreciate this conversation, and I do feel better, and I am encouraged. And I honestly believe that we are in the outer bands of a storm, and it's going to probably get a little bit worse before it gets better, but
It is.
I am very optimistic that it is going to turn out for the good, and that with all the divisiveness that we see, we're all going to be looking at the same thing and know exactly what we're looking at very, very soon, and that will bring us together, whatever that is. And I'm encouraged about that.
Well, good. I'm glad that we all had an opportunity to say what we wanted in the chat, say what we wanted here on the platform. But again, the most important thing is that in all of our getting, we need to get understanding, and all that getting needs to be based on the word. And there's nothing that we can do without the Father. Because when we try to separate ourselves from Him, we only have catastrophe. And I hope that this year, for especially the corporate body of believers, that we, and I truly believe that this has already happened, that we already see that we can only put our trust in Him. Because if we take a note and if we take inventory of our lives, we can see that the only person we've ever been able to trust is Him. You guys, we're about to leave here, but I want to remind you that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. If you guys want to give to the Cash App, please feel free to do so. And I appreciate all of you guys. Take care and be blessed. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.